welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are introducing our brand new slide on over dies. These dies are awesome because they make it really easy to create cool slider cards. So let's go ahead and check it out. As you can see, there are 6 sliders here. We have a straight version in both long and short, a curved version long and short, and then a slight curve and then a super wavy. These curves may look familiar to you because they match some of our dies. So the straight ones are straight, and then this hill one is actually the simple stitched hillside hill. So that lines up perfectly with that die. This one lines up with the stitched hillside die, the kind of more plain one in that die. And then this bottom one lines up with the more curvy part of the stitched hillside dies. Now we're going to go ahead and create a simple slider. So I have 2 pieces of cardstock here, and I'm going to take my straight slider and just line that up right in the middle of my cardstock. Once I've found the perfect placement for it, I'm going to use some low tack tape, which I'm using some post-it note tape, to hold it in place. And then I can go ahead and run it through my die cut machine, and it's going to create this great little track there for me to create my slider with. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn that piece over, and this is my penny that is going to be fitting into that track. So I'm going to use my penny there as a guide to make sure I don't put foam tape too close to that penny so that it can move freely. So I'm just going to add some foam in the 4 corners and in the middle, and I'm going to double up on that foam. So whenever I make one of these sliders, I always double up on my foam so that I can make sure that there's going to be plenty of room for that slider to move in. So the double foam really does help make a nice, easy sliding motion. So now I'll add all of that double foam on, and then once that's all done, I can start working with my penny. So I'm going to take the penny and kind of hold it in place in the back to give myself a guide as to where I want to put my foam tape. Now I'm going to cut one of these foam squares in half so that it fits on the penny, and I'm going to layer them up double too, because if you use double tape on the back, you need to make sure there's double tape on the penny as well. So I'm going to line up that first piece there, and then I can take the second piece and put that right on top and make sure that I have a double layer to match the double layer of my base. Now here's the trick to getting a super slidey slider, and that's to use the powder tool. So I'm going to run the powder tool all around the edges of that foam. Not only does it remove some of the stick, but honestly it's almost more that it just makes it glide really well in that track. So you'll see there it's gliding really well, and I'm going to move it back and forth, and if I feel any other sticky area, I'm just going to use my powder tool once again to remove any of that stick that might be on there so that it's going to flow really nicely through my track. Now that I've got that penny ready, I'm going to take this little guy from Stinkin' Cute, which is one of our brand new sets. I'll remove that little backing there, and then I can glue him right to that penny. So I'm just going to line him up right over that penny so you can't see the penny behind him. And now look how great that sliding motion is there. Now I noticed it was sticking just a little bit, so I'm going to go in with my powder tool one more time and just make sure that it's going to move nice and freely. So I'm just going to really get that in there, and then you'll see now he's going to move really, really well. So once that part's all ready, I can take the little backing off those foams, and then I'm going to put a same color cardstock behind it. This is so that there's the same color behind the track so that the track kind of blends into the card. Now this is kind of a fun thing. If you use a circular foam dot instead of the rectangular one we did earlier, and you put that on the penny and then add a little image on top, I'm going to take this little sun there and add it. It'll actually spin and slide. So you'll see there that it can spin around in circles and slide. In general, I tend to make the ones that just slide because it's usually like a critter sliding over, but I think it's kind of fun to do the spinning too. Now here is a look at all of the 6 different tracks. I love all of the variation between these tracks, and depending on where you angle your die, you can get a really different look too. So you can see on this one we angled it straight up, but you can make it straight or pointing down, so there's a lot of options for these dies. Now here is a look at all of these tracks in action. So there's our straight track and then the short version, which is great for smaller cards. Then we have this curve here. This is one that goes along with the simple stitched hillside borders. And then here is one that goes along with the original stitched hillside borders. So you can see how fun that is. And that one's got the little spin action because of the circular foam dot on it. Now here is another of the simple stitched hillsides. You can see that one's also spinning around too. And then the next one we have here is the one that also coordinates with the original stitched hillsides, but the kind of bumpier version. I really love this one for ocean scenes especially. Now that we've checked out all of those tracks, it's time to start creating with this set. So right here I have the largest 4-bar stitch rectangle. I've cut some peacock and I'm going to cut some craft cardstock too. And then I'm going to be using the track that goes along with this stitched hillside border. So I'm going to put that stitched hillside border on the top so that the track kind of goes along with it. And this is going to become the sand at the bottom of my ocean. So I'm just going to hold that in place with some low tack tape and cut this great little sandy hill for my ocean scene. Now I'm using my hill as a guide as to where to place my great little wavy track there. I'm going to hold it in place with low tack tape, run it through my die cut machine, and now I have a wavy track that's going to match my hills at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and stamp a bunch of seaweed and coral and also the waving hello sentiment on my sandy hill. And then I've got a little mermaid and narwhal here from Mermaid for You, and I am going to have the mermaid riding the narwhal, and she's going to be what's going to be kind of gliding around in that track. Now I've gone ahead and cut one more peacock cardstock for the back so that my track has a nice base to it. And I'm going to take some foam tape and double it up, just like we did in the other one, but this time I'm going to use tape instead of foam squares, but I really want that double height. So I'm going to double that up there and then cut it in half. And now I can start building my little rectangle around my track. And I'm using that penny there as a guide, once again, making sure that I don't put foam anywhere near that penny so it can move nice and freely. I'm just going to create this great little kind of rectangle all the way around. And then I can use my doubled up foam piece there and glue that to my penny. Now I'm going to do the secret trick, which is the foam tool. I'm going to run it along the inside of the foam just in case the penny gets anywhere near it, and then all the way around the foam that's on the penny, making sure that that's going to slide really, really well. I'm also going to run a little bit within the track because I feel like the powder just helps it move really well on that track. Now it's time to glue my cute little mermaid and narwhal right down to that penny. So I'm just going to push her right down onto that foam piece. And now she's going to move along in that track. I'm creating a card base, which I'm going to add some 5 1/8 by 3 3/4 piece of mermaid cardstock to it. And that's going to be the base for this fun slider. And then I'm going to go ahead and line up my slider piece. Now you'll see that I have a bunch of coral in there, but it was looking a little too crazy. So I decided to remove the purple color and just keep it to pink and green and not have so much going on at the bottom. Now I'm going to add a little glitter to her tail, and you can see how cool this is. I love how it looks that she's floating around in the waves. It's just the cutest little thing, and I think it would make absolutely anybody's day. Now I thought it would be fun to take this same idea but turn it up a notch with a card inspired by a card by Yainea. So I'm using that same bumpy hillside there, and I'm going to cut 3 pieces here out of the largest stitch rectangle. So this is an A2 size card. And I'm going to be using some peacock feathers, and I'm not going to be doing anything too difficult. I'm just blending the color on, just one color, but just making it super, super dark. So I wanted this nice dark oceany color. Now I'm doing the bottom piece with just a little bit of a lighter area to it. So not quite as dark as the top one, just to give it a little bit of variation. Now that I've got those two there, I'm going to create my sky at the top, and I'm going to use tumbled glass for that, and I'm going to keep it nice and light so that the sky is airy and the ocean is really the star of the show. Now that I have my 2 pieces there, I'm going to use them as a guide as to where to line up that same bumpy little slider track, except this time I've put it at an angle. Now the base of my card needs to match that slider piece. So I'm just taking peacock ink and just kind of pouncing it down until it matches there. And now the slider just goes seamlessly into the card. Now, as you can see, I've added some dies to the top of this to help set the scene, both the simple puffy cloud frames and the sun from Sun and Moon. And now I'm going to create some little ocean waves for my scene. So I'm taking my ocean wave border and I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. Now I'm going to take that same border and line up the base of the metal part of the die with my cut line. I'm going to hold that in place and run it through my die cut machine again. This is going to give me this really little sliver of a wave that is just such a cool thing and a nice delicate detail to kind of go along with those simple puffy cloud frames. So I'm going to cut this wave piece down to smaller waves, so kind of 3 waves and then 2 waves so that I can place them all around my card. I'm going to stamp the "See You Soon" sentiment onto my bottom piece, and now I can start to create my sliders. So once again, I'm doubling up my foam and I'm going to cut it into thirds this time and create my rectangle all the way around, making sure that none of that foam touches my penny. And then when that's all ready, I can start adding the foam piece to the other side of the penny. So I'm going to hold the penny in place and add my doubled up foam piece to that penny so that it can slide around in the track, and then use my powder tool once again to remove any extra stick anywhere around where the penny might touch. Now that that penny is ready to go there, I can add my mermaid and narwhal to it, just like the other card, but this is the stepped up version. And now I can remove all of that tape and line it on to my card base. So you can see how nice that slider's looking now. Now for the bottom piece, we actually need triple foam. And the reason we need triple foam is it needs to be high enough away from the narwhal so that it can still move around. So we've gone from double foam to triple foam now. So I'm going to cut this down once again and just create a base with nothing at the top, because once again I want that narwhal to be able to move behind this panel. So we've got triple foam, no foam at the top. And then now I can start to line in all of my pieces. So I've just added some tape runner to the back of the sun and the back of those little frames. I'm going to put those into my sky. And then with some tape runner, I'm adding these little ocean waves there just to add a little extra detail to that ocean scene. Now I'm creating a standard size card base with 5.5 by 4.25. I can add my whole panel to that card base, and now it's ready to go. And the coolest thing ever is now the narwhal hides behind that hill that we added on top and kind of peeks out from under it. And I just love the idea of stepping up the slider by adding a second layer on top. I think it's so cool. It'd be really fun for grassy scenes too. The possibilities are endless with it. Now here's a little comparison between the two cards. Both are so cute and so much fun. I just love these slider tracks. So this is Slide On Over. It's one of my favorite new dies. I love making interactive cards, and this is a great way to make interactive cards. And the thing I'm waiting for the most is to see what you guys do with it, because I know you're going to be so creative and awesome, and make sure to share them with us because we can't wait to see them. So thank you guys so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!